be business as usual for the next upcoming elections. So thanks very much for being here. And I would always say special ones to Taxman Paulo, who's watching us out there from Mooya.
Even though he is not legally qualified to run for the upcoming election.
Well, that's your own opinion that somebody is not legally. When he says legally, it is the legal courts to say whether somebody is legal or not. I mean, it looks like maybe
no representative at the level of the House of
no, the representative is not a matter. It's not an issue here.
Okay.
When Prophet Afani was going in for presidential election, he had no representative. All the 9 candidates, how many of them had representatives? Professor Afani, where I was the communication officer at that time, had nobody, even in the parliament, nothing, but he was going for presidential election. So it doesn't mean that you must have before you go in for. Dynamics are changing. Just like there's an independent candidate. There's a law that talks about independent candidate there.
Will he be
you can want to go, you can come as independent.
To secure the signatures of first class chiefs?
300 signatures around the national, which is possible. For independent candidates, yeah.
First class chiefs in Cameroon?
Even the CPDM chiefs can sign for you. It depends on how you approach them. For free, not money.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Jarvis, welcome.
Good evening, LASHA. Good evening to the peace-loving people of the Northwest and Southwest region. A special good evening to those who are watching us in the different parts of the world. And of course, Mooya, where I come from, and my village, which is in Menchum Division Way Village. Good evening also to Abuja. Good evening to Yaoundé. Good evening to the Ministry of Communication. And of course, a special good evening to the National Communication Council.
We also have Ndiwum Emmanuel, who is of the civil society. Ndiwum, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, LASHA Kingsley. Good evening to my co-panelists, and good evening to all the viewers of Prime Hour. It's always a special honor to be here on this platform. Before we go into our topics deeper, I want to think that for some time we have been crying about corruption in Yaoundé, in Cameroon. And many fingers have always pointed to the ministers in Yaoundé. I want to think it is time for us to ask questions. We have senators and we have mayors. We have parliamentarians in Northwest and Southwest region. For 7 years, where have they been investing that money that they're harvesting from the glass house in Yaoundé? I want to think something should be done, especially at the level of the mayors of the Northwest and Southwest region, whom some of them have resulted to using the youth practically for their evils and political agendas. So I want to think that in the coming days ahead, we will need to actually zoom into the activities of the mayors, especially in the Northwest, where I come from, because there is a lot that is going wrong in that part of the country. Mayors have become very worse than the ministers we have been accusing in Yaoundé, and we are watching very closely. We shall zoom into that.
Okay, that's not our focus for today's edition of the program, but some other time we'll talk about that.
It is an alert.
Yes. Kedia, Malanfe, good evening and welcome.
Good evening to you. Good evening to my co-panelists. Good evening to the entire Media Prime institution for giving us this opportunity to always be present to say or to give our view on issues happening in our national territory, in the continent, and in the world at large. Special greeting to Senator Mbok Carlson, and wish to thank him for the support and the scholarship he has given to many children that are less privileged, and also those that are handicapped, that he's encouraging them to go to school. Special thanks too to the mayor of Malanfe, which we saw him on TV encouraging children to go back to school, giving them school materials to encourage back to school. Those are the things we are expecting from all official government or state elected official. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be here. The pleasure is equally shared. Thank you so much for coming. Jarvis, I begin with you. We are in Nigeria to talk about allegations of fraud at the level of the court that deliver a verdict concerning elections petitions that were filed in by opposition leaders. We are talking about 3 petitions. 2 were thrown out of the courts as per the last verdict that came in. You have been monitoring elections in Nigeria, and this, of course, the second part of that issue in Nigeria that we are talking about. Let's get into the crux of the matter. What actually happened at the level of the tribunal?
Good evening again. Last time when we gathered here to talk about the Nigerian election, the outburst of some Ecuadorians were that maybe the facts we presented were not up to date. However, I want to thank you for this opportunity for us to give more clarification as to what we were saying. That was on Wednesday when the 5-man panel of the Abuja sat in for the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, gave a verdict in which they threw out the cases brought in by Peter Gregory Obi as well as Atiku Abubakar. As it stands, LASHA Kingsley, I maintain my stand that what happened in Nigeria on that fateful Wednesday was that justice was massacred. In fact, that was a miscarriage of justice. What happened on that Wednesday in Nigeria, I still describe it as a miscarriage of justice. Why do I say so? There are two provisions here constitutionally. I'll go by the Constitution, such that people don't get to say I am talking out of sentiment or emotions, and also people don't get to accuse me of saying what I am not saying. There are two provisions here that the Federal that the Abuja election petition brought forward. We're talking about Section 134 and also Section 299 of the Constitution of Nigeria, that is the 1999 Constitution. And first, let me make it clear. Number one bone of contention of the petitioners was Abuja, that is the Federal Capital Territory, in which they laid their allegations and their evidence on Section 134. And that on that Section 134, the court came in from the perspective and contradicted on Section 299, which I will briefly read this petition, the rulings. But this is what we should note. Abuja in itself, the court stated that Abuja is a state like any other state, but that is wrong based on Nigeria's constitution and the structure in which Nigeria is found, and that is based in Section 134. And let us look at Abuja. Abuja, as any other state, does not have a governor. All the other states have governor. Abuja hasn't gotten a governor. Second, Abuja has only one senatorial seat as compared to all the other states that have three senatorial seats. The next issue is that Abuja has no state house of assembly as compared to all the other states that have state house of assembly. The next issue that we should also be talking about is the House of Rep. Abuja has only 2 House of Rep representatives. And also, the next aspect we should be also looking at it constitutionally is Abuja High Court. Abuja High Court is supreme than all the other courts in Nigeria. So if we go by the provision of Section 299 and Section 134, we will not draw the conclusion to state that the ruling that was given by the Justice Samani and his team still need an explanation from an objective position. Section 134 talk about how a president is elected in Nigeria into office, while Section 299, where the election petition read their judgment, was talking about how the constitution, how the different institution of the federation is established and across the entire territory. Let me take you to Section 134, Sub 1A, B, C. It states that according to for an office, for someone to be elected president in Nigeria, that person must have been duly elected, and that person must have at least 2/3 of all the states. And now let me read it as it is here. It said, a candidate for an office of a president shall be deemed to have been duly elected where there be only 2 candidates for election. A of 134 state that he has the majority of votes cast at the election, and B, he has not less than 1/4 of the vote cast at the election in each of all the states in the federation and the federal capital territory. B, in default to candidates duly elected in accordance with Section 2 of this section, there shall be a second election accordance with Section 4. That's 134 that talked about how someone is elected into office. Now this is where people are stating that the election tribunal did not rule according to the law. The election tribunal went and brought Section 299, and Section 299 talked about the establishment of power across Nigeria, and which the provision states that 299 sub A, it states that all legislative power, executive power, and the judicial powers vested in the House of Assembly, the governor of a state, and in the governor of a state and in the court of a state shall respectively vest in the National Assembly, the President of the Federation, and in court in which, by virtue of the foregone provision, the court shall establish for the Federal Capital Territory all the Federal Capital Territory B, all the powers referred to the paragraph A of this section shall be exercised in accordance with the provision of this Constitution. Remember that it is talking about the provision of this Constitution shall be applied.
Now, Jarvis, you have read all this article that you are reading, and what was not respected, what was. We are now talking about the judgment that fell. There are allegations of judges being bribed. Can you reconcile what you just read?
That is why, if we, before going to these allegations, we must look at why people are making these allegations, based on the text or based on which norms. Let us be clear. When these elections results came out by the Independent Electoral Commission, INEC, when INEC brought the result, INEC stated that if they don't like the result, they should go to court. In any democracy, what holds the democracy? There are two things that holds the democracy, LASHA. The first is the sincerity of the ballot, that is the purity of the ballot, and the second is the independence of the judiciary. Those are the two things, the founding pillars of every democracy. And now, in a sane country, when somebody tells you go to court, you have to be very careful that you know, going to court will cause a lot of problems. But in all honesty, they said go to court. And now when they went to court, this is where people are stating that something must have happened. When they went to court, the president who had been elected and sworn into office quickly started talking about increasing the pay of judges and members of the court. And now you start looking at this foul play. The next aspect is that we started looking at the fact the allegation came in where they said the Chief Justice of Nigeria met with Tinubu in London. We saw videos and pictures which the government came out and rebutted. Now, if we go by why people say there is a bribe which may have taken place, yes, is subjected to section 134 of the Constitution, and reconciling it to section 299. Section 134 talk about how you are elected into office. Section 299 talk about how the state institution is structured. But you go and take how the state institution is structured, and you don't talk about how the president is elected into office. Now, to butcher their point that money must have changed hand, it goes by the fact that you say Abuja. This is where it's clear for everybody to.
Yeah, that one is clear.
No, let me just.
Tinubu did not have that.
No, let me just. No, I'm not talking about his 25%. I'm talking about, you claim now that the Abuja is like any other state. It's different with Cameroon, where the Yaoundé is Cameroon's capital, and in Yaoundé we have a governor in Yaoundé, we have SDO in Yaoundé, and Yaoundé is where the president of Cameroon resides. But in Nigeria is different in that case. Now, which means that Abuja does not have a governor, does not have state house of assembly, does not have has only one senator, which means that Abuja itself is different. So by this ruling, the court is telling the people of Abuja that they have to now write a petition and sue them for debt, because it means the state Nigeria has been robbing the people of Abuja. And also conclusively, it shows that the Abuja High Court, which is supreme, is not supposed to be supreme, because you say Abuja is just like any other state. It means that the Abuja High Court is now supreme. And I don't find it strange, because like in Cameroon, I don't find it strange because the Abuja High Court ruled against the Nigerian government when they extradited some Cameroonians to Cameroon, from Nigeria to Cameroon. The Abuja High Court ruled against Nigeria favour and demanded that this person should be brought back to Nigeria. But till now, it has not been respected. So I want to say this, that why people are saying that money must have changed and is in accordance with 134 and also 299. We are not fools.
Okay, Fah Elvis, what happened in Nigeria? Jarvis just painted a picture of a miscarriage of justice, which could also be likened to what happened to your own political party in Cameroon during the post-electoral petitions at the level of the Constitutional Council in Cameroon. Do you share same opinion?
Yes, I think it's not far from that, because in a kangaroo system, the things move in a kangaroo manner. When you have a kangaroo government, the courts become kangaroo, the police kangaroo, everybody's kangaroo. So when you look at the politics in Nigeria, first I will tell you that if we're in a serious country, even INEC should have been dragged to court. Because you don't take election matters, you computerize them, when you have not been sure that it will work well. You are making, that's what we call, that's a dangerous experiment. If you look at it, all the electronic issues that were put in place in the election failed in many states. But even INEC has not even come to take responsibility. Because even the presidential candidates are instead focusing on Tinubu and the court. If I am going back to Nigeria for the appeal, INEC itself must come in because they also play another role which can be considered.
But experts were brought in and they said nothing went wrong with the system.
No. INEC initially, because this is where the evidence comes from. The moment the results came out and Tinubu was protesting, the INEC chair made an official press statement that the truth is that they had some malfunctioning in some states. I said he accepted. INEC chair accepted. It is on press that they understand and they accept that there were some shortcomings in the functioning of their programming in some states. But however, it does not undermine the fact that the elections were free and fair.
But experts were brought in, but they found nothing.
No, when you say experts were brought in, when the chair himself, who is the one who brought the experts, is complaining that there were some shortcomings in some states, it means that there were shortcomings. Now you discover now that the experiment they were taking, now even the candidates, if you take even Abubakar himself and Obi, they have even left INEC, which if I was there, INEC, I would have done with INEC, because they themselves were carrying out a dangerous experiment, which by this press outing from the chair, from the INEC chair, that very evening, when the result had been proclaimed on that 25th of February, it would have been an evidence. Now another point again, which we are looking at it, is the fact that I should tell Peter Obi, my good friend, that don't even expect justice to come in. Why? The duration is much. Elections take place 25th of February. About 4 months later.
But that's a Nigerian constitution.
No, I'm saying Nigerian constitution, but I'm saying that if I was him, it would have been needless in petitioning, because when that duration is long, they swear in the president, he takes power, he starts making errors even with the sub-regional organization, and wants to go and wage war with Niger. What do you expect with Niger? It means that he himself is already in power. So the truth is that if anybody, because what I could tell Peter Obi is that they should press for electoral reforms as CRM is doing now. We are telling Yaoundé that you must adjust the electoral system before next election. Because if you don't adjust the electoral constitution, it will reproduce the same error. Just like if Peter Obi is learning now, along with Abubakar, they should understand that that clause of saying that it can be within 4 or 5 months that the petition can be heard against presidential bid is an error.
But it's not ended. Yes, not ended.
No, it has not ended, but I'm saying it's a lost battle.
They still have the yes. Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a lost battle, one, because from every indication, we understand that if panel of judges 5 can tell you a whole party that you don't have justifications, something is wrong with them. Because you cannot tell me that Peter Obi and his team were going forward, even on the eve of that election. There were numerous, even parts of Kaduna, where they had even spoken about malpractices. And then Peter Obi cannot be coming now to court without evidence or Abubakar. So the simple thing is that the judgment had been done before the judgment. And so they were only simply fulfilling the fact that Tinubu himself is one who controls the system. And the judges, the way he has been there for 5 months, 6 months now, it becomes difficult even for those judges to rule against him, because you will be like biting the finger that fits you.
No, but the question now is, how is Tinubu to blame? Is the constitution of Nigeria?
No, the issue
the bad section.
Yes.
You look at it to
it's a problem of the constitution also.
Yeah.
But my worry here is that Tinubu, as we are speaking now, should have understood that the game had been played before the time. That's the bitter truth I'm talking about here. Like if you see what Jarvis cited here, you look at the constitution. Does this currently have what it takes to rule on this matter, or does it have the jurisdiction? Or if you have the jurisdiction, did the panel of judges, did they really take time to go through the petitions, or they just ruled that the claims were dumbfounding? Now, these are the issue where I say that the judges themselves, the panel of the judges, I am not saying they took money, but I can say that they worked in favor of the man that fits them. And so money was not necessarily change hands. No. But they could look at it that, but what if we rule otherwise? When this is the man who is the one who appointed us or kept us, because salaries have increased for the judges in Nigeria. I mean, the top judges now.
It could be a coincidence.
No, don't leave that grammar as coincidence. We are used to coincidence in Africa when it has to do with electoral issues. So if you look at it, when President Bola gets up and increases salaries to military personnel, you say coincidence? No. If because the man sends danger somewhere, the man whom you consider him to hold your joker, you start fixing him well so that he start dancing to your tune. That's what has happened in Nigeria. And those judges, I tell you, I have about 5 other friends who are there in Lagos and Abuja, 5 in Lagos, 7 of them in Abuja, who said they are considering relocating back to London. Because they said the justice they saw there, it was a massacre of the justice. Now, imagine these are guys who had left from London to come back to practice because they thought they could be patriotic. But from what they saw, I want to speak with them yesterday, they said, no, what they are seeing here, this is not the Nigeria they used to dream of. It means that this period itself, if things can be thwarted as of now, it means that anybody who has what it takes and is connection in Nigeria can do and undo. So there's fire on the mountain.
Fire on the mountain, fire. Ndiwum, why is the story the same in most African countries?
You see, the story is the same in most African countries because most African oppositions have failed to learn the lessons. They have failed to master the game. You know, the first thing, when I look at the charges that were placed against Tinubu in court, it makes me laugh. I started asking myself, an old reasonable man like Atiku Abubakar, a very young, talented, and intelligent man like Peter Obi, where were these charges before you went to election? You know, all of these things would have been considered first before going to the election. Especially when you look at the doubts on his academic qualifications. Before the election took place, they were aware of it. They did not discover it after elections. When you look at the fact that they say he had some kind of financial misconduct in US of about 46,000 US dollars. I don't want to go into the detail. All of these things were known by the opposition. The problem is that in Africa,
where the opposition they want to validate his candidacy, there was somebody that you should be attacking, not the opposition.
Yeah, of course, I know.
So why did the person validate his candidacy with all this?
Such a question coming from you keeps
when you send in documents, they have to verify and they show.
Wait.
So I'm asking, why are you directing the question but to the opposition?
I said to the opposition,
they are taking it to court.
The opposition should have stood against it before the election.
No, they are taking it to court before the election.
It is a folklore. It's a folklore. I'm coming.
Yes.
When you look at electoral hold-ups in Africa, opposition parties have always played the role of the blame game after losing. Even when they went in knowing that they were going to win, that they were going to lose. We all know that Tinubu is not the legitimate president of Nigeria, going by the fact that we have gathered so far. But then, why should you give him the leeway and turn around to start crying? It's the same thing like in the context of Cameroon. Let me tell you, electoral hold-ups in Africa, when you look at the case of Kenya with Raila Odinga and the man who left before Ruto, it was the same thing. He waited until election was over, he came crying. When you look at the case of Gabon in 2018, Jean-Pierre played the same role. Electoral hold-up. When you look at the case of Ivory Coast, it was the same thing. Now, look at the favorite aspect of Cameroon in 2018. When the opposition actually went in, knowing that they have one of the worst electoral code in the whole world, not in Africa. I say electoral code that from Elecam to Constitutional Council is owned by one man. And you know very well that this one man is the person who single-handedly appoints them. You are even talking about the case of Nigeria, and the duration of election results declaration was at a very short interval. One more of Cameroon, where nobody knows when results are supposed to be proclaimed.
Who are you blaming? The constitution?
I say we have a wrong constitution. Instead of spending this energy of electoral hold-ups and going to court for court judgments, let's harness that energy and fight for a change for the electoral processes and the constitution before going in for an election that we know that we have already lost. It's the same thing like today I've been saying, and I will repeat. When you go out on the street today, you see parties like MRC singing songs, dancing like masquerades, asking people to go and register massively. Whereas they are very much aware that the same thing that stopped them from participating in a twin election in 2020 has not stopped. You see PAP dancing, asking people to go and vote. Now, when they will still go back to the contest, in the same electoral process, which will be declared by the same Constitutional Council, when all petitions will be irreceivable, they will come out shouting to the world that we won. Only the layman will know that they won. But us, we will know that you did not win because you did not fight for your victory. So I see what is going on in Nigeria. I want to think Tinubu could be very illegitimate, but I don't blame him. He played his card. I am sure that somewhere you must have learned of the famous word, "It is my time to become the president." Are you aware of this? That is Tinubu. Are you aware of that statement? Which means that by hook or by crook, his way was already prepared to become the president. And from such statements, you still go into contest with him, so that later on you go to court. It is like trying to fool somebody that a cockroach ever won a case in a court that the judge was the cock, which is very false. Because the cock cannot be judging, and a cockroach is supposed to be food, and then you expect the cockroach to win. It is very clear that from the examples I've given to you, from Kenya, Cameroon, Gabon, Ivory Coast, and others, tell me one where the opposition ever went in and came out successfully. Then by now, the opposition from other countries in Africa should have learned that the only one thing is that they should speak with one voice before the election and try to correct what they think can help to rig the election.
Okay. Kedia, I'm with you. Why is it difficult for separation of power to be fully activated in Africa? You have the executive taking, in short, heading almost all the other arms of the government.
You see, we are in democracy, and many people have the right to decry what they consider as injustice and not the court of law. Talking about electoral complaint, it's not only in Africa we have them, because we should not pay attention and make our viewer believe that all these things is only in Africa. We know what happened in America between Biden and of course Donald Trump, which he also contested, and up to now the case even is still at the level of the tribunal. So we should not mix this. The arm of government, of course, they are possibly doing their job, and critics will always be available with regards to democracy. I've heard, of course, my co-panelists, they have spoken and diligently, but I will tell all of us that actually, with regards to the same law which all of them they quoted, Tinubu actually won his election. My co-panelist, Mr. Fah Elvis, talk about the level of downloading of the PV of the elections. Of course, INEC had said it that they'll have the soft copy that will be downloaded so that everybody will see, and they'll have the hard copy that will be transported. Of course, everywhere in Nigeria does not have internet, so of course they had a breakdown. And when this case obviously was brought in court, the magistrate, the panel of 5, they openly said that with regards to this, there is no law of the Constitution of Nigeria that talks about result being downloaded. It was a proposal of INEC to ensure that there is transparency so that the people can see. So the law of Nigeria is different from the law in place put by the body of INEC. So this is where there was a problem. And so I'm coming. All of them spoke very well with regards to those causes before coming to the verdict. And also talking about, I heard my co-panelist also, he spoke about the issue of Abuja, because I think the law says that if you have 5 states, you must obviously have the federal capital, Abuja. But in court, the panel of judges said that with regards to that case, Abuja is a normal state when it comes to that. So that is why the people of Abuja are revendicating that if it is so, then they will have to have their own 3 senators, they will have to have their own government, and of course, the members in the House of Reps, which that one is another perspective which we are going to see. Then we also have now the problem that Tinubu, because normally this opposition, they gave their complaint against INEC, which has to do with the issue of Abuja. So
that double standard in the interpretation of the law to favor Tinubu when it comes to the federal capital territory, is it not miscarriage of justice?
Now you see, it is the parliament. Is the parliament that votes. Is the parliament that votes law, and these judges are there to interpret.
That's what I'm saying.
And that is their rule, and we cannot tell them that they have not interpreted very well. And we all know Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar and the other 2 political parties that file all these complaints have 60 days to go to the Supreme Court, which I think maybe that was one of the aspects that we'll talk at the level of the Supreme Court. They will also have Tinubu's problem that he had at the level of the case he had in America in 1993 with regards to drug and also his educational qualification. I was very, very excited at the beginning of the program when Jarvis had to go into the Constitution of Nigeria, where he focused on the electoral law with regards to being a candidate, which is chapter 6 of the Constitution, part 1, and from 120 to 145. And he brought his own, in law, you bring your own chapter and your own sections in the law that will favor you. But he did not pay attention on articles like 131 and also 141, which of course my co-panelist here was talking about Tinubu having a drug case. Now, what does the law say? The law says that if you have been sentenced, then you are not eligible. Now, a complaint was given in the court in America, but Tinubu was never ever sentenced. So you cannot consider one as another reasons to come and say he has a drug problem, because if he was sentenced, then he will never be a candidate at that election. So INEC wouldn't have accepted it. At the level of his nationality, which other people complain that he has no double nationality, which the Constitution of Nigeria also forbid that. That is also section 141 that says if you have a nationality of another country, you cannot obviously be a candidate. But when you look at that, they all complain, but they did not bring a national ID card of the said neighboring country of Nigeria that Tinubu is having. So when you look at all these articles of the law that is being put in place and which they judge, they base their attention on, you cannot.
Why would they be focusing on the issue that should have been addressed before the elections, instead of focusing on the election fraud? The courts or the lawyers, focusing now on he was not qualified to run, he had a nationality, the certificate had a problem, he was sentenced in America.
Why would someone say the judicial system there was fraud? Why would someone say there was bribery? It's because the person feel uncomfortable of the decision that have been taken by the judges with regard to the Constitution. That's when they say it was unfair, and so they concluded that it was bribed. So you cannot talk about all these facts which they sued Tinubu, and to say that we should not talk about it, we should talk only about the corruption. We discovered the corruption just at the level of the Constitution where people feel unsatisfied. Okay. That is where you can look now what people are complaining to conclude to say that
leader now not selling after the market.
Of course, many of these complaints,
the complaints.
Permit me to talk. Oh, my time is short.
Your time is dropped.
Now, INEC is the one that receives the candidacy, and INEC is the one that look over all these issues. That is very clear. Like Electoral and any other aspect, they are the one that takes it. And with regard of what I just read here, INEC could not drop the candidacy of Tinubu. You cannot say that he was accused of drug. He paid $46,000. That he paid. But yes, he paid. Yes, he paid, and that happened in 1993. Now the question is, was he sentenced to prison?
For future, he paid.
Was he sentenced in prison? If today you have a problem, Mr. Jarvis, and you go to court, and if you go to court and you are given a fine and you pay money, you have not been sentenced, and your judicial report is not dated. So we should not miss everything. He was not sentenced, and INEC pays attention on the fact that Tinubu was not sentenced to prison. And article, as we have been talking about chapter 6, part 1 and section 141, it stipulates that if you have been sentenced and Tinubu was not sentenced to prison.
Let's go to Nigeria and meet Saviour Ekpe. Saviour, good evening and welcome.
Hello, good evening, panelists.
Yes, thank you for joining. We've been talking about the verdicts. This is the second part of discussion surrounding the verdicts that the court in Abuja dished out regarding post-electoral petitions in their country. Where are we now with the petitions?
Okay. The judgment was given, and all effort now is geared towards visiting the Supreme Court, which is the final arbiter. And the judgment actually was unfortunate because what transpired, everyone knows. It's not even Nigerian matter. Everyone knows the situation. Like I heard the panelists talk about some sundry issues. Let me rather clarify a few things. INEC, by their law, by the law that established INEC, they are not to verify one's claims, educational qualifications, or whatever. They are not to, whatever you present to INEC, they collect it. It is expected that the opponent will now challenge whatever document was presented. That is number one. Number two, the issue with the President Tinubu is not with regards to dual citizenship. There is no problem about that. The Nigerian government are actually given also opportunity to have citizenship in another country of our choice, any country of our choice. The issue there was that in one of the forms that was given to asking him whether he has citizenship in another place, another country, he said no. That was the area that his opponent, Peter Obi, Abubakar, and the rest took up. So to have citizenship in any other country, Nigerian constitution permits us to do that. So those are the issues. Now, back to the question, the issue of going to Supreme Court. Yes, that is what is on ground right now. Now, after election, the problem that I have with Nigeria is after election, some of them go to court. It was it has the it looks somehow. So telling his people go to court, what does it pertain to a layman? So, but the issue is that we have seen what has happened. To my mind, as an individual, I think the Constitution of Nigeria has been bastardized, because you cannot tell me that when they say that this is white, and you know that it is white, you now use other issues to come and tell us some other reasons. Okay, take for instance, let me tell you a part of the judgment given by the tribunal so far, part of those things. We look at the vice president, Kashim Shettima. The court now says that he is eligible to contest, whereas the electoral law says you cannot contest sorry, I'm not a lawyer. I may not quote the various provisions sections, but the electoral law says you cannot contest for two offices under a particular electoral year. You cannot contest. The vice president has already collected form for Senate before he was being picked, but the law says, the judgment says that is eligible. That's number one. Number two, they also told us that Tinubu is qualified academically to contest for president. It is true, the law of Nigeria says that even up to the office of the president, except very recently, that you can, with SSCE, you can become the president of Nigeria. That is not the issue. The issue is that what about this other one that the law also, they call, that's the tribunal. When I say the law, I mean the tribunal declared that it was not so, which I'm going to tell us some of those things. Now, but I'm looking at the issue of academic qualification. If you look at the SSCE, it's correct. But if you now look at the issue of Chicago State University, that's where the question mark actually falls, and we are looking up there. Now, number three, we look at the other issue, talk about the fraud case against President Tinubu that is not proven. That's what the tribunals told us. That is not proven. So I'm yet to know the extent of that where an issue could be proven. That's one of it. The other aspect is that Tinubu was cleared of drug-related crimes in the U.S. We all know, facts are there, evidences are there, that he was charged, he paid a sum, a fine. What is the essence of paying fine? It is, everyone knows that fine is substitute to, sometimes they say both or either this or that. But this is what our tribunal down told us. Now, not only that, they also told us that residents in Abuja are not special, they said residents in Abuja, no special 25% in FCT, not necessary to become president. Can you imagine? Whereas the constitution is very clear. They said that you must have at least a 2/3 of the entire state of the country and Abuja. But now, this is what they are telling us, and they are negating previous judgments. They are negating previous judgments as given by previous courts of law on the land. Not only that, they also told us that INEC is independent, so therefore they can choose the method of transmission of results. Come to think of it, what did INEC tell us? Professor Mahmoud has been telling us every time that the results will be released online real time as soon as you are done in your polling unit. Right there, you transmit results online real time to the server. That's what they told us. Now, what are they now telling us? They're telling us quite different things. That is why Peter Obi is actually contesting again in the Supreme Court. Not only that, they told us that evidences by Peter Obi did not prove he won the presidential election. Well, that one, by the way, I don't want to go into that one, but we know that there are a lot of Peter Obi presented series of evidence. They also told us that double nomination case against Shetima is incompetent. That's what the court told us. Okay. Incompetence. Whereas the law is very clear. The electoral law is very clear. They also told us that double nationality case against President Tinubu is dismissed. They dismissed that one.
Okay. All right.
Hello?
Yes, Saviour, I will come back. Okay. I will come back to you. I'll come back to you. Let me continue in the studio. Maybe take some messages before I continue with Jarvis. Good evening, Mr. LASHA and all the studio panelists in the studio. I have noticed that most analysts in Cameroon speak very clear when it comes to foreign issues, but speak mostly in parables when it comes to Cameroon issues. Is it that they are afraid or they have been bribed? That's a question they're asking you guys in the studio. Good evening, Mr. LASHA. I am Tambe Joseph from Bonaberi. Like the MRC man should not always be brought to your debate. He's just supporting Kamto. There are some messages that are not just worth reading. Hello, sir. Because of power failure, I have never followed to the end. I would like to really follow the program today. I am happy, member of Popular Action Party. Greetings to the kangaroo man. All the panelists of Prime Hour tonight. When you look at Nigeria election this time around, you understand that there have been an underground plans to give the election to Tinubu by all means before election. INEC had already known the winner but kept playing their game. Tinubu himself knows that he did not win the elections. These were his words on national television. I know many of you do not vote for me, but I am sorry to say that the candidate you voted for is not standing where I am standing today. He has almost everything in the world, but just that name, president, is what he wanted, and he has gotten it by force. All the ways. By that, Nigeria is known to be the maximum 8 years mandate, and you can still be eliminated after 4 years to re-election. Not like some of us who have no hope until death brings us hope. I am Armstrong, writing from Edea. Armstrong, I don't know what that means. We'll continue with the discussion in the studio. Tamai Jarvis, you listen to Saviour bringing forth facts about what actually happened, that everything finger points to the fact that Tinubu is not supposed to be the president.
I want to start by giving some, maybe an interjection to what Ndiwum said about oppositions in Africa. We've had two opportunities where the court in Africa has actually ruled in favor of opposition. When he said name me one, I will name him two. We have Malawi, where the court ruled against an incumbent, presidential incumbent. We have also Kenya in 2017, when Chief Justice David Maraga ruled against Uhuru, who appointed the judge, and said this matter has to go back to the election because the results were conducted unlawfully, were declared unlawfully, and the electoral petitions, the electoral laws were not respected. The third is also in Nigeria, when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan accepted defeat from his own appointed chairman, INEC chairman. So we cannot say that things are not changing. Come now to what Kedia Robert Malanfe said. I want to state here that we are going by what the text states. It suffices me to see, and it's troubling to see that Kedia will accuse me of issues where I did not talk about. My first interjection was based on Abuja, and I limited myself to Abuja. Not the drug, not the certificate, but Abuja. So if he had to make his point, would have made his point based on what I said about Abuja, or just made his point on the new allegations that he brought about the drug and certificate. Since he has touched it, let me land on it. Now, when Kedia said I talked about electoral laws, I did not talk about the electoral law. I talked about the Nigeria Constitution. There's a difference between the Constitution and the electoral law. What INEC had is the electoral law. And INEC electoral law was read by Festus Okoye, the second in command of INEC, where he read the electoral law. After this program, I will give Kedia the copy of that electoral law and the video where then you should not have made that error. No, then you should not have made that. No, you should not have made that error. No, Kedia, let me land. Kedia, let me land. No, therefore you are exposing your own not ability to comprehend what you are saying. I am saying that there's a difference between the electoral law and the Constitution. And no, you said electoral law. Kedia, after this, you go and replay the tape. You talked about.
I said the Constitution and I said chapter 6. When you talk about chapter 6, part 1 and
Kedia, let me make my point. Let me make my point. Yeah, you. Let me let me make my point. Kedia, let me make my point. You said Jarvis quoted the electoral law. I wrote it here before you went and start quoting. I'm correcting you that there's a difference between the electoral law and the Constitution. I don't use. I'm going by what you said. So I'm limiting. Kedia, let me leave myself. Another issue that you made mention, and I want to go clear by state by state. When we talk about for future, it's already criminal. As defined But it's sufficing that Kedia who is landed is talking about what he sentenced. What is for future? The Advanced Learner Dictionary basic definition define for future as the loss or the giving up of something as penalty for wrongful doing. At the time that for future happened with Tinubu was not in US, he was in Nigeria. And when that happened, the US legal procedures gives two options. If you are not present in cases that have to do with drugs, especially drugs, you either forfeit all the money that you have had as part of the drug issue, and you are let go. That's you pay all the money you surround in your account because of nicotine, the nicotine drug transaction. Maybe he's not aware about that particular provision in the US. He should go and read that provision. We are not saying that Tinubu was sentenced. We are saying that as long as that judgment was given, there's a court certified document as far as that for future is concerned.
That one is in the US, not in Nigeria.
Yes, the US court certified document was presented.
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying. That
it's in Nigeria.
The Nigerian constitution did not talk about. They say the Nigerian constitution state that when you have been charged in any court, it was where you have been sentenced. Where you sentenced. Kedia, don't expose your stupidity.
Why you are learning? We are talking about sentence. I'm learning about charge.
Let me learn.
You are stupid. We are talking about charge. You are talking about sentence. You are talking about stupidity. You are stupid.
I have said.
We are talking about sentence, not charge. Sentence,
when
not
Kedia
charge.
was talking, I told you allow him to
We are
learn.
talking about sentence, not charge.
Kedia.
Allow me to learn. You are
Kedia. Wait, no, Jarvis.
We are talking about sentence. We are talking about charge. Everybody can be charged.
No, you will not learn. No, you will not learn. You will not learn. You will not learn. Jarvis.
No, you cannot.
We are talking about sentence. We are talking about charge. Everybody can be
quiet.
charged. Everybody can be charged. The sentence is the one that is another thing. We are talking about
You
sentence.
cannot deprive me because of Kedia interrupting me.
Eli.
When Kedia was talking, I did
Please.
not interrupt him. I told you that leave him to speak.
Eli, I will come back. Please, Eli. You can.
Year 2023-2024 with Subdeco. Follow relocated training and obtain your diploma co-signed by the French and Cameroon's government. Bachelor from the Clermont-Ferrand Business School, International Finance, International Business, International Marketing. Master of Science from the Clermont-Ferrand Business School, Control, Audit and Corporate Finance, International Trade and Digital Marketing. Higher National Diploma and Bachelor Degree, Accountancy, Banking and Finance, Logistics and Transport, Trade Marketing, Human Resource Management, Project Management, Information System Management, Master's Degree, Accounting, Audit and Control, Banking and Finance Engineering, Human Resource Management, Project Management Entrepreneurship, Logistics and International Trade, Information System Management. Location, Subdeco at Nguso near Hotel Paradis Junction. Contact 656 90 35 16 675 56 91 89. Website subdeco.com. Subdeco, a label of excellence.
Vous êtes prêts? Attention, Première Ligue, Ligue 1, Liga, Serie A et Bundesliga, les plus grands championnats vont faire sensation. Des ambiances à couper le souffle, du spectacle à en perdre la tête.
À l'école des talents, c'est de là, sont les premiers.
En immersion dans le meilleur du football européen, vous allez vibrer, vous allez crier, vous n'allez pas en croire vos yeux. Vivez la reprise des 5 championnats européens seulement avec Canal+.
Ça revient. C'est un but pour l'histoire.
En ce moment, profitez du décodeur à 5000 francs dès la formule Access.
Welcome back, televiewers of Media Prime Television. If you are just joining us, you're watching Prime R, and we are discussing on Nigeria post-electoral petitions. As you all know, the tribunal in Abuja ruled in favor of the president recently, throwing 2 out of the 3 petitions that were filed in by opposition political party leaders. And of course, Tinubu is now fully in charge as per the decision of the tribunal in Abuja. But the opposition political leaders are not relenting their efforts. They say they are going to the Supreme Court to challenge the verdicts of the Abuja court. We have been talking on that. And before we took the short break, Jarvis was trying to clarify some issues regarding certain provisions of the Nigerian Constitution before the discussion escalated into something. Jarvis, I just want you to be civil now. Just go ahead and make your point so we can proceed with the next topic.
Last, I was stating before I was really interrupted that when you look at the provisions of Nigeria, we should get the definition, the difference between what the Constitution is and what the Electoral Act is. In Cameroon, we have the Electoral Act and we have the Constitution. And what I was limiting my mind on was not on the Electoral Act, because the court, in their ruling, had nullified the Electoral Act. Because the court said INEC had the sole provision to determine how and which they want to conduct the election. So to limit myself that I'm saying on the Electoral Act, it means that I must be somehow gullible. So coming down on that, the provision of what is subject here, I don't want to go by forfeiture, because if we go by forfeiture here, some of us don't understand the meaning of forfeiture, even as basic as it is. I'm limiting my mind to the Abuja Declaration, which is on the Federal Capital Territory. There are 2 things here subject to, and we had Peter Obi's team presented 1,000 blood results from INEC to the court. They presented 1,000 blood results, and these results were downloaded from INEC RF portal. And in that blood result, it was certified by INEC that this is a result we have given you. They took it as evidence. They went to court. They said the court, okay, court, can you recognize this as result? Court say we cannot recognize it. Even INEC owned witness came and they said, can you read this result? He said it's blood. The magistrate can 1,000 blood result. But it was also thrown out that they would lack evidence. For 1,000 blood results, certified copy by INEC, give it to Peter Obi, and the court said it's blood. Why would people not say that the judgment seemed like money exchange hands? Far from that. Festus Okoye, who is second in command from INEC chairman, Festus Okoye made it clear that in his outing he said it is mandatory 1, it is mandatory 2, it is mandatory 3 that the result be transmitted real time. When the INEC chairman went to Chatham House, that is Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, in Chatham House in London, he made it clear that they will go by the Electoral Act, which the court has made us understand that is not useful again. Now, the second issue is on Shetima's double nomination, as my brother in Nigeria puts it. The court interpreted that his double nomination was not intentional. That it was not intentional, that he did not intentionally did that. But it's a crime. When the Constitution states that if you have double nomination, the ticket in which you went for is nullified. The court says it was not intentional. And now if you say it's not intentional, it doesn't mean that I can take my car and go to Lagos, hit somebody on the road, and the person dies, and I go to court and say, I did not intentionally do that. That is what the court has interpreted. So why you see people talk about, it seems that money must have changed hands. These are the issues. Another issue where people will say money must have changed hands is also the issue about the forfeiture. The court ruled that Tinubu was not in prison or sentenced in prison, but the crime was committed and it is his account. So it means that it is Tinubu's account that is guilty and not Tinubu as a person, which means that if I take my car and go to Lagos and hit somebody, it is a car that is guilty of that crime, and it is not
let me ask you, your time is done, but let me still ask you this. That provision of the Constitution you are talking about, does it say that if you pay money for forfeit,
yes, there's
out of the country,
no,
wait, out of the country, it applies back home?
The court said in any court, it did not preside
out
court.
Of
it's any legal court, recognized court.
But that one is in the US, not in
any
Abuja
court.
or
It said any court. The provision is clear.
Okay.
Any court means that even if you are sentenced.
Okay, but now the judges have interpreted it their own way. Where said in any court, the judges have interpreted it.
The interpretation is that there have been issues like my brother in Nigeria said. There have been people who have been removed from office by that same provision, by forfeiture. So he is not stupid by saying that. He has his evidence.
Okay.
There have been people who have been removed from office following that same provision. And that's why we are saying that if you had, judges make their judgment based on past precedents, past judgment. So if a matter is brought before the court, they look at, had this matter once appeared in any court? Yes. What were the ruling of the judges at the time? Did they follow this ruling? Now, if there have been a pattern of ruling in that particular case and it comes, they will just quickly rely their mind on past ruling. But you will not come and nullify past rulings and come and set a ruling. And that's why we are happy that it is going to the Supreme Court. So if it is going to the Supreme Court, let the Supreme Court clarify Section 299 and Section 134, because Section 134 talk about how somebody is elected into office, while Section 299 talk about how the state institution is structured.
Okay, Jarvis, thank you. Fah, we are concluding on this issue. Now, Tinubu judge his sentence in the US and what the judges have interpreted based on the constitution in Nigeria. Can we say the judges have done their job well?
The judges failed on arrival. All of them.
The constitution is not clear.
No,
they are the ones who interpret. They have
let
interpreted.
Let me give you another anecdote during that court hearing.
Yes.
In the first part of it, the court had this to say. The court accepted the judgment. But in one of their defense, they said it was given 20 years ago.
Yes.
And so it is overdue. Listen, when you are a convict, you are a convict. If you are a convict 30 years from that time, you are still a convict.
And the constitution does not give statutes of limitation.
And the constitution does not give you a statute of limitation that no, if you are above 10 years, they cannot consider again as a court case. You get the point? That's why you see, even that particular chief judge, I don't know whether it's very okay, but it is really funny that he himself.
Cameroon, 1 minute, please.
Yes.
I don't know whether the Nigerian law considers civil offense and criminal offense to be the same, because my understanding of civil offense and criminal offense, talking about the duration of what you just said there, is almost getting me confused. So I don't know if you can throw.
Wait, Jarvis, far continue.
So when you look at it critically, the first argument I got in that court hearing, I was disturbed, because you can't say you are throwing that out because it was done over 20 years ago. No, a crime is a crime, certified. If you are found in a criminal record in America, even when you are 80, if you pause the computer in America, it will still show that you have been a convict at this point in time. So it was simply a way of the court trying to remove that. The truth is that Tinubu might have played smart in going in without people noticing it. But you know, in politics, the moment somebody can get a negative track record, it plays on you.
But the question many people are asking is same like what the Nigerian who spoke to us via Skype said.
Yeah.
But what were the opposition political party leaders waiting for?
No.
What were they waiting for?
No, excuse me. This is the possibility. You understand? This is the possibility.
Because it is not the INEC that determines whether the documents you forward to them,
you're right.
They're authentic. But what were they waiting for?
This matter had gone to court.
No,
he probably did not know this matter had gone to court.
Yeah.
And they said the person that took the matter to court was not a candidate, it was PDP that took it to court.
That's why I'm asking, what were they waiting for?
No, that's what I'm coming. When he went to court, they were waiting
you
for
don't
the
have the
rulings.
mic. You don't have the mic. Let Fah Elvis answer.
No, the truth is that first there were skirmishes of this issue before the elections even proper. That we have to understand that.
It is still in that same court they were saying, oh, he was not physically okay to run. Were they not seeing him when he was?
No, let's keep the physical aspect aside, because physical aspect, once there's no age limit, so long as the law tells you that once you are matured to any age, you can be president. Even if you move there to age of 100 and you are still capable of standing, that one should not be the issue here. It is the people who can judge whether you are fit, but by law will not tell you that don't stand. You understand? So long as you fulfill the other conditions. Now, but away from that, I wanted to make you understand one point that is coming up. The point in it is that from the time that these petitions were canvassing and coming up, first, the issue had first of all resurfaced, but the court itself did not handle it well. That was that the corruption was from the beginning. Now, If you know it, those who are Nigerians will tell you that Tinubu has been the maker of presidents at the backstage. Tinubu, that's my good friend. He has been a very good catalyst in the making of presidents in America.
And he said it this time.
Nigerians know what I'm talking about.
This is my time.
For all the presidents, he has had a hand in them.
Become president.
Because of his strategic position. Now, I understand at one point in time, he wanted also to taste it from his statements that he made. But you discover that somebody who has been putting presidents on the seat masters the in and out. So as a master planner, it's not easy for you to fight him because the person you are going to meet, he's connected with that person directly or indirectly. I will tell you, Nigeria is a country full of justice, by far than the kangaroo country where we are, that led by kangaroo persons. But the only difference here is that now they consider Tinubu. This is first of his time in the history of Nigeria. We are seeing that justice has been tampered with. If you were in other cases, I will tell you that the justice system in Nigeria is doing well. So, but generally, I could equally tell my friend Obi and Abubakar that even if Obi vowed to continue to let Nigerians know that he did not win, in the record time, out of 89 million voters, we know that Tinubu had only slightly above 8 million, which is the lowest in the presidential race history of Nigeria. To tell you that even his presidency is still questionable. Now, as per the issues on the court, it is true, Obi will petition again. He will take it further. But the chances are slim. Okay. Why do I say the chances are slim? The maker of presidents cannot be on seat with those institutions. No way. Because as a maker of presidents, the institutions also, he has a grip of the institution. So, what I will say is that let's prepare for next election. Just as MRC is preparing for their own election 2025 in Cameroon. Don't bother yourself. Prepare for next election, Tinubu.
Shadow cabinet president.
Obi, Abubakar, I will back you up. But before I back you up, your own is around 2027 or so. Come and back MRC first in Cameroon. Directly or indirectly first. Let us unseat Kedia and his acolytes, the CPDM. When we remove them from seat, we will now come into full force directly or indirectly in Nigeria and back you up.
Okay. Let's take this short break. When we come back, we will take on our second topic for tonight. Welcome back once again, televiewers of My Media Prime Television. We are on our second topic for tonight, and we are going to be discussing or talking about the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. As you all know, there has been multiple attacks from one bomb explosion to gun battles in different parts of the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, where some persons have been shot and killed, others kidnapped, and their whereabouts not known as we speak now. The latest of such attacks was in Mooya, a locality in Mooya, southwest region of the country recently, where suspected Ambazonia fighters attacked civilians who were about going to the Mooya markets to carry on with their activities. But unfortunately for them, some of them were attacked, killed, and burnt to ashes by those suspected Ambazonia fighters. Fah Tayong, you are from Mooya, and you witnessed some of those situations in Mooya. Does this conform with the narrative that everything is under control?
No, it's very controversial. You know, what I used to see in the film of James Bond, Chuck Norris, No Surrender, Duff Laundry, were things that we saw physically. And I will tell you that it's ironical in the sense that most of the government's pro-persons have always been saying things are under control. But I told the regime in Yaoundé that in a kind of guerrilla warfare as such, it metamorphosizes as time goes on. The experience the boys are getting are not the experiences they had from the beginning. You bear with me that at the beginning of this crisis, there were a number of them, 100, 200. Now, those numbers are no longer there. You get few, but the few who are there are able to cause havoc within a given period of time. Their tactics have changed. Before then, they could come and attack for long. But now they make sure it is 30 minutes, 1 hour, action is finished, and they are gone. So if you look at what happens in Mooya, a butcher, as the one of the civilian, was equally shot as they were in the taxi. Then with 2 other drivers from Menchum division. I'm sure they could be the tribesmen of Jarvis, nobody knows. But 3 persons died as per se. Now, what is very disturbing, while we talk about this Mooya incident, is that one, on that fateful day, it took Mooya by storm. And I will tell you that it was well planned. Why? Because the shots, it shows that the guys programmed themselves, part of Monaco, part of Checkpoint, part of Mayor Street, and then the Mooya itself. And the guns took place at a similar time, 6:35 p.m. a.m. rather, 6:35 a.m. Which means that they had programmed themselves. But what is very disturbing, I will tell you, is that I am not undermining the prowess of the security forces. Maybe they did that for security reasons, but what I got word was that these guys shot for 30 minutes to 45 minutes. What was very disturbing was that security forces did not confront them. But the moment they retreated, there was a whole round of what is commonly called in French, kale. And the bad thing is that at the police station itself in Mooya, those who were on duty locked the gate and they were inside. Around the Mooya market, those who were on the story building locked themselves and they were inside. Now, after the incident, which we regret because I said all lives matter, these are guys who are trying to make sure they earn a living. However, there's no justification for squeezing life out of them. That we must, whether it is military, civilian, whosoever, my point is that all lives matter. That one is for sure. But the bad thing I was commenting on this is that immediately after that, the riot that came in was a bad one. Because the riot took place, young children, mothers, girls, boys were rounded up and taken to the Mooya police station and they were asked to sit down. I'm saying not to stand up. All of them sat down on that wet, unfaithful day. And I asked myself, is it that the security officers were sleeping when it occurred? Is it that they took kaya? Because these are not the targets. These women who were there rounded up with these young children were not the targets. And when these guys come, they come unannounced, they finish, they disappear. All of them will take her back. But then to see that you do what they call run up, what the French calls kale, and people were sitting on the ground, I felt too bad as to who gave that order, because it was a counterproductive order. Now look at it, as I was talking just around the afternoon period, around 4, gunshots were equally was heard around mile 14 this today. It's to tell you that things are no longer as business as usual, but it defeats the purpose of those on the likes of Kedia, the CPDM, who had always been deceiving people that everything is under control. In a guerrilla warfare, the enemy or the opponent knows who you are, but you don't know the opponent. So sometimes sitting on air, blowing grammar, like the other day, a handful of his friends were saying they were giving education on back to school. I said, who are they educating on back to school? There's a problem there. Instead of solving the problem, they have spent all their time running up and down and saying back to school is effective. It's effective. Where is the effectiveness today? Where is it? And I was shocked that some medias are even reporting the opposite. They tell you that, which means to an extent, some medias could be classified as CPDM medias. Because even their reports, you find in one thing that you cannot tell that things are normal in Buenada, everything is tense. Now, the Limbe side is another one. Now, things cannot be normal, and an SGO is giving a communique. The communique of the SGO tells you that things are not normal. The communique of the GO of New Central giving you a communique tells you that things are not normal. So where is the normalcy? People come, and when they are holding their meetings of evaluating their dialogue, they come hold their mountain hotel in Mooya. I told Kedia, their next meeting, they need to go to places like, we talk about Akwaya, so that when they are holding it there, and the gun smokes in the air, they'll go to Ewane and say, mais la festa c'est comme si c'est sérieux. But the moment they come and hold all those beautiful meetings in Fako, how many meetings of recent, since this year started? Peace meetings, evaluation meetings, reconstruction, everything is only in Fako. Mooya, which is a little bit. Now, out of a sudden, the Mooya that we thought was comfortable, now is that everybody is sleeping with the eyes open. My man, it's not easy. Let nobody deceive you. If Kedia talks any grammar here, that government goes up, Canada has done the best. These are the people who are telling lies, and we are losing souls day in, day out.
Okay, Kedia, you listen to Fah Elvis Tayong. We are talking about back to school, and the northwest and southwest region. So many areas are still wanting when it comes to back to school. We've seen or heard bomb explosions in Limbe, people being shot, killed, and burned to ashes in Mooya.
Before I answer you, I would still like to clarify what I have to clarify before I proceed. Talking about personalities like the vice president of Guinea Equatorial, he had a judicial case of fraud, and his house in France was seized by the government, but he was not sentenced there. He's not a prisoner. We have a musician in Congo. He had the same problem. He has been sentenced in Paris. He can't step his foot there because he's a prisoner. And right now, with the case Tinubu has, he has been going to America. His money was seized, but he's not a prisoner. He was never sentenced. He does not have a certificate to ascertain that he's a prisoner, because when you are sentenced, you have a document that shows that you are sentenced, you are a prisoner. It's different from when your property and your money is being seized. Coming back to the issue of the Northwest and the Southwest and back to school. You see, we play politics. I don't remember any CPDM, politician, senator, parliamentarian that will come and say there is 100% effectiveness in the Northwest and Southwest and there is peace. No. We all know there is problem and we always denounce. We should not mix administrators and call them CPDM militants. Now, we know the effort that the government has put in place to ensure that we have lasting peace in the Northwest and Southwest. But we should also know that we have a civic responsibility, because security is collective in collaboration with the forces of law and order. Now, in Northwest and Southwest, we have people that did not go to school, that have picked up arms, and their intention is to frustrate others not to go to school. That's their intention. Kedia. They started it in the... I'm coming. Why am I saying all this? This issue of shooting and everything, if we are honest, we know it because of the school was starting on Monday, September, and they wanted to perpetuate, to distract students from going to school. That's the fact. It did not happen. Why was it on Monday? Why was Ghost Town declared on Monday? That is the objective of it. So we should not come and we talk about the fact that people were killed, taxis were burned, and we don't accept the fact that their agenda is to ensure that children don't go to school on Monday. That's the fact. So we cannot come and say as if I'm talking about school as if we don't know that the intention of this lockdown is to ensure that children don't go back to school. And so I'm calling on the people of the Northwest and Southwest region to work together collectively in collaboration with the forces of law and order. People had their intention of independent. Yes, it is their problem, but in the ground we have people that are thieves, people that are armed robber, that rape, that kill, and now they have not gone to school. They want to frustrate our children not to go to school. And I'm calling on all those in the Northwest and Southwest for a collective work have been appointed, and they will have what they have to gain in Yaoundé, and we'll have politicians. And I challenge anyone to tell me any CPDM official, senator, mayor, parliamentarian that have stood and said that there's 100% peace. No, we are ensuring for effectiveness. We are working together. We are collaborating with the people to ensure that there is peace. That is why you see, in regards to back to school, the mayors came out and talked to the people, especially the mayor of Malanfe. He divided books to children, ensuring that they communicate with the people. Schools that have not been going on, the campus were clean, to ensure that these children, they go back to school. And that is the collaboration that we are talking about, that elected official to ensure that they work with the people. I appreciate all those mayors that are in their area of jurisdiction and not those that have gone to Yaoundé to stay there, because you see 2025 is coming up. Us as CPDM communicators, we are supposed to tell the truth to the Cameroonian people so that they should trust our party and vote. They should ensure that they know, yes, they should trust our party, CPDM, as they have always trust for the past many decades. So that is why I'm calling the people for an inclusive collaboration with our elected official and our forces of law and order to ensure that we have lasting peace.
Yeah, Mr. Ndiwum, I come to you. Bala just released a report. He said, I did not really take time to know if it's a report, but it came from Bala, from what he sent out, that not up to 50% of schools, yes, that was about 46% of schools, were functional in the two English-speaking regions at the just ended 2023-2024 academic year. But when you listen to Kedia, what impression do you have?
Well, before I come to that question, I want to wholly inform Kedia, if he was not aware, that all the administrators in Cameroon are CPDM members. That's one, without argument. Point two, instead of calling the people of Northwest and Southwest to collaborate for school resumption, call Yaoundé, those people who score the shots from Yaoundé. Let the people stop what they started. Point three, it should be no news that ex-convicts in most African countries are seated on top official positions, including my country, Cameroon. So what he has been turning around to say, I think he wanted to talk about non-conviction. But I want to tell you that it doesn't exist in most countries in Africa, including Cameroon. We know of ex-convicts in this country who are holding top positions. So we cannot go into that. That said, you are asking my impression. Let me tell you that last week when school started, 2 head teachers fell in Boyo.
Your native?
My native village. Mooya, that kangaroo man just talked about. Ikiliwindi, yesterday, a driver and the motorboy was gone down. I lost the first commissioner of special branch, Bamenda 2, as Silas Yves Angus, rest in peace, into the hands of the separatists. That is a uniformed man who has every artillery for his protection. As we speak, there is a policeman in Mooya in the hands of the boys. You must have seen the video going very viral, begging. How was he captured? That a school child would not be captured. If we were talking about, if somebody says less than or up to 46% of schools in Northwest and Southwest are operational, the person is still a liar. I will be very frank to tell you that not up to 35 are operational. If I were to take the case, and all of this, I will be telling teachers tonight, those teachers, when I heard the death of the 2 headmasters in Boyo, I had a message for them. Local politicians manipulate you to go and clean schools, take images, send on social media that these schools are operational in Bami, Ngwa, Disakwe, whereas the politicians are not seated back home. Yeah. They manipulate you to take pictures, send. When the bosses comes after you and you are collected, you are on your own. They don't come again. And all of this, I was saying that they will come to you preaching development. That the mayors, they want to preach development. What is development when humanity is not at the center? Is that not hypocrisy? Bunch of hypocrites. When you call them, they will say you are arrogant, you are disrespectful. I want to think that play with human life to this extent tells us exactly where the regime in place has neutralized the consciences of Cameroon to this far. And when I heard of the falling of these 2 head teachers, with some of the civilians that have fallen down because of the quest from the Ambazonian guys, today we are calling it Ambazonia, yesterday we were about not to call it, it means that somehow there are changes. I had this message for teachers: please, don't die defending a matrical number. We have fertile soils. Look for a fertile farm, start working. Drop that rubbish called a matrical number. Don't die fighting for a matrical number. Because all along, when those big guns who live from Yaoundé enter Bamenda Oboya in armor cars, tell the whole world that everything is under control, we are left with pockets of resistance. And before they even leave the armor car to come out, they sneak, they look left and right with all the army around them. It tells you that all is not well. And again, we want to think that lies tellings have never solved a problem. We remain in the circle and circles of propaganda every day while people are dying. Because people are dying and you are benefiting from mission allowance. Know that that mission allowance you are benefiting to go and come with your armor cars, while our children do not have any armor car. They don't have. What are the SDOs offering to the immediate population? What are the governors offering? What is the impact of a governor to the immediate population? That he should have all the security, whereas a teacher who matters to the population forever. I say forever.
The residents also attacking Kumba.
Well, let me come. When the teacher who has what matters, the impact, I mean forever impact on the population, is left at his own mercy. We see how they're butchered like fowls. They are killed like flies. Yet, the duos are in the comfort of their security. The governors are in the comfort of their security. And it is these same governors and the duos that sends out communique warning teachers that absentee teachers shall get their salaries being cut. This time around, teachers tell them that cut the salary. Drop that article and be alive. Rather than going to work where there is no security to lose your life. After losing it, they keep enjoying their life. They live in avarice. They enjoy, and your family keeps mourning like they're mourning in Boyo now. So I think the ball, if the state has refused to protect the teachers there is nothing like restoration forces in Northwest and Southwest. We have a band of thieves, criminals, who are causing havoc on the population. The time that people thought that this dream could come to fruition and create a new state to let the people see a better life, that this Cameroon has refused to present to the people. Both west and east of Mungo is gone. Anybody left there now is a thief. All those who went there genuinely are all out, and I can guarantee you. That is why from time to time, I'm really shocked with this question. Did you hear of the time they said I was shot in Boyo by Amber Boys? Because I championed the school resumption. And I've always been on it. For what? For no reason should any person stop a child from going to school. My children are going to school. And I will not like that another person's child should not go to school for whatsoever reason. Can we sit down? Can the fight be limited to Amber and military? And let our children, because when you ask this thing, I don't want to get out of emotion, because what Amber Boys have done in my village in the first place is something I cannot even support. And as we speak now, the military and the government keeps failing because they will send them to somewhere. I once proposed on this platform, no military contingent should be in a place for more than 2 months, because they create familiarity and they don't do the job that they were sent to do there. And that is exactly what is happening in Boyo now. As I speak to you now, the Amber Boys that were glad some weeks ago that disappeared have come back in a different form with military littered everywhere, paid for that. Allowances.
Ndiwum, are you now saying that the military option is the best option, since you have defined now those who are operating in the Northwest and Southwest, that government is not soft? Government is soft on fighting those who call criminals and
except I'm speaking Swahili, which I'm struggling to speak English.
So you are activating I have not full military option.
Anybody who is a thief, it's not even the military that's supposed to go behind. The gendarmes and the police are there. But unfortunately, these ones are hardened criminals that are even above the power of the policemen. He just told you there how they ran in Mooya, Helter Skelter, when I hit themselves and came back to round up people to Mooya station. So I want to think that the role of the gendarme and the police is to ensure law and order. And law and order can only be perturbed by criminals. And as such, they should be handled. But those people who came into this thing genuinely are almost all out, Because if I take a place, for example, like Ginicom, as I speak to you now, the direct sister of a colleague of yours was kidnapped last night because she's a teacher. Is that restoration? Is that fighting for the people? No. So don't quote me wrong.
Okay.
They should allow teachers out of this.
My Jarvis.
Not teacher.
Mooya, your birthplace.
It's a difficult one to analyze the situation that happens to deal with civilians, especially those who go out to do their basic activities to get food on their table. We are in an economy that's already hard, and so it is sad to see how the protector has become somehow the terminator. When we watched the image in Mooya, it was gruesome, where the taxi driver burned to ash on the steering beyond recognition. And we also saw one person who probably burned in an attempt to want to leave away from the taxi, and also somebody who was shot. And you know, the interesting thing here is how the people reacted. If you had listened or watched the video, you got what the people were saying. Somebody was shouting there that "na money for waiting, na money for waiting. You come off, you must come out." It's like it touched me that these people are not concerned with the activities of the killers. They are more concerned with the person who is going out to want to make ends meet. That was like, I was like, what are we not getting here? What are we not balancing? Instead of blaming the killers, you are like blaming the person who went out. The person who went out was not a teacher. The person killed, like he just said, a butcher was killed. It's not a teacher. And now we assume that during period like lockdown, there are emergencies. Somebody is sick, somebody needs to be transported, and all this kind of stuff like that. Well, you build your mind on the assumption that all those probably who move in the vehicles are blackleg. Therefore, you are telling us that you are the terminator instead of being the protector. Now, let us come to the reason, as Fah said, that, and also we all have agreed here that there is need for violence to reduce in this area. But to some extent, I want to say that the government has a sole responsibility to pull the string, because we have the head of state who is a guarantor of peace and security, #1 state man, and he is the guarantor of national unity and integration. And so if he used his own powers now, his magnanimity, to say, okay, you know what, this had happened before. We look at what happened in Ethiopia when Prime Minister Abiy came in 2018. When Prime Minister Abiy won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2018, he won the Nobel Peace Prize because he broke out deals between the rebels and also his government. Now, people will say we don't negotiate with terrorists. We don't negotiate with terrorists. There come a times in the history where you weigh the cost and effect. You see how much impact will it have, and you sit everybody on the table, whether we like it or not. Those who call themselves Amber and non-Amber or separatists are citizens of this beloved country. And in all of these, the persons who keep dying on a daily basis could have been the people who maybe had solutions to some of the problems we are facing in Cameroon. Maybe at the level of research in future, maybe at the level of business, maybe at the level of technology, maybe at what level. We keep losing these persons. We keep losing them. And so what I'm saying in essence is that when Prime Minister Abiy said in his speech that there come a time when we must look at our past, look at the present, and form a new culture, and that we must let bygone to bygone. And he said those who fantasize war in Ethiopia are those who have never heard the sound of guns, are those who have never listened to the trembling of a grandmother who runs when she hears the gunshot. And that was why he decided that there is need for peace. And so I'm transferring that to Cameroon, that those who fantasize, the Amber side, who are in diaspora, who are preaching, make the area ungovernable, do the lockdown, kill this, do that, are people who have never listened consistently for 3 hours shooting in Mooya, when you lie on the floor. These are people who have never experienced the prominent white hillocks when the white hillocks passes by. These are people who have never experienced the burning of houses. These are people who have never experienced the brutality, the kidnappings of these same called voices and vice versa, the belligerents. So these are people fantasizing the war. And there's some people who tell you everything is normal. Are people who come with armor cars. Are people who even in their armor cars, and Ndiwum said, they still sneak around and look around very careful, despite the heavy presence of security forces. In all of this, how do we draw the balance here? The balance here is bestowed on our commander-in-chief, who is the president of the nation, to say that, okay, let us
declare a general amnesty. Now this time, because I have a problem with the DDR issue. Not that the DDR issue is a problem, but I have a problem in that the DDR needs to have a time limit for those to drop their arms. Because when you keep it in an open door, that anytime you are tired, you can come and, it's like anytime you are tired, you can come and drop your arms. There is that room for people to say, you know what, we have not worked enough money,
so
let's kidnap.
I agree with Ndiwum that government is soft on fighting the crime.
To some extent, government is soft. Soft how? Because those who have...
You know what is a full military...
No, I am not. No, I'm declared. I'm going. I'm letting my case that to some extent, in terms of the disarmament, the disarmament mechanism, you have opened the window. You have to keep the window in conflict. They come and tell
let me take an example of the traditional ruler of Bambala. The people who were behind his kidnap and whatever, they just apologized to him. We were talking about Shina Rambo.
Good. The people
just imagine a situation like that.
That one is even better.
You keep somebody for 18 months.
That one is even better. That one is even better because our revered traditional ruler who came out looking fresh, free.
No,
I'm saying it's better. I said our revered. I said our respected. I did not say our known. I said our revered. We have had other traditional rulers who have fallen in dragnet. It's not the first time. But what I'm saying is that what of the issue, the 5 delegates or the 6 delegates killed in Indian? By the same call, who came and went and shown how where they were buried, and the doctor and the person said, well, you know, I've repented. So what we are saying is that we must be serious. Because there is no deadline for the disarmament people to keep their arms. What the government ought to have done was that to say between this period to this period, we call on those of goodwill to drop their arms. And so we should also have accompanying measures. When you say we call on this between July to August to drop their arms, and also between this July and August we are granting general amnesty to everybody in the bush, those in diasporas to also drop their arms. By so doing, it reduces. But the fact that there is no closure, there's an open window, somebody in the corner will say, but you know what, we have not had enough money for kidnapping. More kidnappers don't gather the money, we'll keep them, we'll go for DDR center, they'll can the VC our business. You know, these are real examples. We see them, they go to Kedia, snap picture, they're on Facebook Live, they eat morning, afternoon, evening. Some of them even have data. Sometimes I don't have data to go online. They are doing live, they are monetizing their pages. But these are people who have responsibility. What I'm saying is that what happened to other military men and women who are in prison because of the fact that they probably had carried out an unorthodox act. So these are people. So the justice should be in both ways. Let these military people also grant general amnesty or abroad and at home, put the country in the mood that even the common man will chase away these voices. And Ndiwum said, when there's general amnesty, everybody, let me tell you, the mother in Kikaikilaki, the mother in Wudikum will be the person to say, my children, please, the ones that were in prison are already free. Let's chart a way forward.
Okay, Fah Elvis, you must have probably watched the videos of how Bamenda Food Market was last Saturday. People were in their houses, on their homes for 1 week. On Saturday or weekend, they were asked to go out and buy foodstuffs for their homes. Where did these people think the population would see the money to go and buy the foodstuff?
I will not be looking at that direction where would the population see to get the money. I'm looking at the fact that some people have control on the ground. That's where my worry is coming from. Because you cannot blow grammar as a geo, as a governor. Things will begin, they will do, and when the time comes, the things don't happen. It means there are 2 persons who have an influence in that place. There is you, the government, who's official, and there is the other ones who are unofficial. But the main thing is that the population is caught between 2 powers. That of the geos, the governors, and that of the Amber Boys. That's why I will tell you that the fear of the Amber Boys and the fear of the military is the beginning of wisdom. Because if you don't respect both of them, as a civilian like us, then hold yourself to be blamed. Military tells me the papa is here, I don't go me. Amber says, don't come here today, I don't go me. I don't want to hear, Amber tells me don't go here. Military says, no, shun fear. Politicians who live Yaoundé, eating fat, they are all Kenya's friends. They'll come and blame grandma. Please shun fear and go out and do your things.
And they're indoors, eh?
But they're indoors, and their children are not in those areas. That grandma does not want this time again. No. We have now civilians who are getting very intelligent now. Any civilian they come and tell you that go out and shun fear, tell them they should lead. They should take the lead. If it's on a Tuesday, on a Monday when there's ghost town, let they themselves leave armored cars and take the lead. Then you follow from behind. They cannot be a shield. If there's any bullet, they take and you get free. Fine. We are now at the point where we don't have 2 lives to live. Some of us are relocated down here to stay here till the ghost town is over because we never can tell. Look at what happens in Mooya. It was not on a Monday. So we don't even want to take chances. We are forced to stay up until things become normal. The day we hear that things are returning. Look at the food markets we are saying. I will tell you, LASHA, that God is the one taking care of civilians. I will tell you that. Because how on earth does a man stay in the house for not working, yet goes out on Saturday and manages to buy food and comes and stock again to take another day, other days again?
So when these people, when they see these sufferings of the population, can they not pity the population?
This is the issue, which people have failed to understand. I am talking as an investigative journalist. Because very soon the likes of Kedia will say, I am a spokesman to Amba. No. I am Cameroon Resistance Movement, CRM. But in my Friday, when I went to Gunoko village, I went to Bomi, I went to Njindom, I went to all those areas passing through Mankon. Last Sunday, I took a bike at 6 o'clock, 6 p.m. from Bengui and route passing through the bushes to arrive in Bamenda because vehicles, I was already late. Now, what I realized is that the people themselves who will come out to buy the food, you are asking a good question. Can the people not understand? What I realized in my video,
I was not talking about the people buying. The people are stopping here.
Yes,
yes. Can they not
what I realized is that
suffering?
People have not understood this because there are so many things that are going on platforms, like what Kedia was saying. That is what stop people from going to school. I want to tell you that the things have changed. What is the new dynamics? I attended a preparatory meeting of back to school chaired by the Duke of Mbengui. And what was inside? It was insisting on government school teachers to return to the villages. After the school, I spoke to a handful of those principals in the suburbs out of Mbengui Central. And they told me that the teachers said, "Amba, no one government school worker for this place." And that is the genesis. That's when I realized that the issues of community schools, or which government refused, that you cannot tell us about community schools. Then now, mission schools now took over. Private schools took over. You now realize that the dynamic is changing. Why? The Ambas are allowing what they call private schools, apart from government. And you ask them, when I asked the principal, one of the headmaster, he said, because they are believing that anything that enters the government coffers, to them the thing that is money they are using to buy arms. Well, I say it's not even what is there. Because what gets into that particular direction needs to take care of the teachers in that direction. If you are giving any levy in secondary school, that's what they used to send to, even though it goes to the national treasury. But they calculate it comes back as salary to the teachers who are teaching in that sector. But then what I'm telling you is that if you look at it critically on the ground, the main thing is that while these boys took their move, it was an aspect of what the first man called bribed affair, which means there is a power tussle between the Amber boys and the government officers. Now, Amber boys have not said schools will not go on from what I got on the ground. The market women will interview them around them, they'll be telling you. But the thing is that they want to make government that they have their own day where they think schools should start. Government has an official calendar for schools to begin, but they are imposing their own calendar. So you can see now that in the course of that, the population that is forced to suffer because the Amber wants to tell the government that even you say school starting on the 4th, to me, my own school is starting on the 18th or whatever, you understand? And so at the end of it, alliance school. No, probably. No, I say so. I mean that to them, they think that they are saying that if you think school start on this time, to us, school should start, but instead at this time. So if you look at it critically, the problem is that the power tussle between them and the government is playing a heavy toll on the civilian population. So at the end of it, for me, I think that the time of politics is over. The man talking here, Kedia, should be able to tell the government that what I think is that let the government just take what it takes, because the government has what it takes. I repeat every day. Yaoundé, if Yaoundé wants this war to end today, Kedia knows what I'm talking about. It will end. Because they know who to meet, more than me and you. Because the government is so intelligent that they know leaders of this crisis. They know who to meet. They have their phone numbers. Because the government is so intelligent, more than me and you sitting here. They can track phone numbers, they can track what I do, they can track what we do. So they know if government, Yaoundé regime, even though kangaroo, decides today that this guy is ending today, once they put in place genuine dialogue without cosmetic solutions, before you know it, we will be holding those responsible for this crisis like the belligerent or the side of the amber, and before you know it, peace will be returning. And that's what we want.
Kedia.
You see, I've listened, everybody have spoken, and everybody still tend to say the government have a lot to do, and all attention is that the government is legitimate and the government need to react, and these guys are non-state guys, and give them that immunities. But there is something I really don't understand, that a people will be in the northwest and southwest region and sentence their fellow brothers, the same ethnic group and tribe, 2 weeks imprisonment in the house
without food, water,
and to them, they want the government to know that they are in charge. People will stop their children from going to school, their own blood, the same blood brother, sister, they stop them from going to school. That Yaounde will hear hot. The same people will rape their own sister, collect money for ransom. Those that are even going for burial, they collect money from them. That Yaounde will feel the pinch. That is what I don't understand. For instance, will a Bamileke man burn the stores of another Bamileke man in the west, that the Yaounde government will feel the pain? Will, for instance, a Bassa man in Sanaga Maritime stop his own children born by him, that the government will feel the pain? There are certain things that I'm trying to even understand what is actually going on with the barbarism which our own blood brothers are inflicting on us. There are other things that could be done. You see, there are some people that stood for civil disobedience and any other thing to show their happiness with the government. But I don't understand why you kill your own brother. Like, for instance, what happened in Mooya, you see your own brother in the car going to struggle to have ends meet. You burn him alive inside the car with a passenger, and you see that the government will feel the pain. That's what actually I don't really understand what is going on. And that is why I keep on saying that as we call on the government, as we call on the forces of law and order, I still think us, indigenous, we need to come together, collaborate together, and tell our brothers they should drop their arms, and we look for any other way to revindicate. We're in democracy. There are many ways to express your frustration to the government without necessarily creating violence to your own people, without necessarily raping and killing your own people, without necessarily ensuring that your children don't go to school or their limbs are cut off and they are being fed. We have many ways as civilians to express our revendication and give pain to the government, and not instead giving pain to our own blood. I say to our own blood, because I still conclude by saying that the pain a Northwesterner will do to a Northwesterner, I don't think a Bamileke man will do that to his fellow brother, and same with the other regions in Cameroon.
Ndiwum, you have 2 minutes. Let me ask you this question. The moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, in an exclusive interview granted Municipal Updates newspaper, weeps for his native Akwaya, where he blames the displacement of over 40,000 people on what he calls manipulators.
I thought the moderator was from a different place, not Akwaya. Anyway, everybody has been weeping. Where has that weeping taken us to? It is time to stop weeping and do the right thing. I want to thank the clergy, the civil society, the politicians, and to crown it all, the elites of Northwest and Southwest have been lacking behind in the quest for peace. And to also think that the government, because I know you say I keep blaming the government, that the government can do it alone, it will not be an exaggeration. The government started it alone, because from the beginning we were shouting that stop these things. Just like Ali Bongo failed to listen, and one day he started begging people to make some noise. Even today they will say we are making some noise. When time will come for them to ask us to make some noise, we will not make the noise. We started crying this thing long time ago. So contrary to what,
never beg for noise. The CPDM will never ever beg for noise.
Please, I have the microphone. Contrary to what Kedia is saying, that we should beg our brothers and sisters, I say Yaoundé started it alone. Those who eat alone should be able to fight alone. Should be able to fight alone. Okay. So I'm thinking that no, you have said something here that is very crucial. Maybe you said it unintentionally. You said these people are controlling Northwest, and you are not sure that a Bamileke man will burn down. That is a terrible declaration. Don't stigmatize any community.
When the truth is being said, what stigmatization? I said they cannot burn their brother's store. Is that stigmatization?
Kedia,
no, they cannot do it.
Kedia, when I'm talking, you have to listen.
No, you're accusing me of something.
I am not Jarvis. Please,
Kedia.
Please.
Don't accuse me.
I am not land Ndiwum.
I am not. I am not those messages.
Ndiwum land.
I am saying that don't stigmatize any community, and to think that you are even going as far as saying that these boys are controlling their people means you are already telling us that they have independence, which is a terrible thing to ascertain. No, to ascertain.
Okay.
So I keep saying, I am appealing to the conscience of the government. I am appealing to the conscience of those who are the leaders of this so-called struggle to put humanity first at the center of every action.
Okay.
If not, then the same people you claim to protect are the same people you want to massacre.
Okay. What have I to say is that the Amber leaders are out to drink blood. Looking at when they talk, they are not even out for something good for the people. Why? Because they don't care if the people are killed. No Anglophone living in Cameroon is still for this independence. Mercy from Bamenda. I hate these Amber leaders because they are killing their own. We are waiting for them here in Cameroon. One day they will come back to Cameroon.
Confirm. You will see them for that.
This other message. Good evening to the crew in the studio. Come to think of it, Amber boys are working with the military, because if you discover where Ambers are hiding and you go to tell the military before you reach your house, Amber boys will be in your house waiting for you there, asking you question, why do you report us to the military? So how did they know that you went to report them to the military? Jonathan is writing from Santa. Good evening, Mr. LASHA. Kedia is just an instrument used by the kangaroo regime. Notwithstanding, he has some point. He is really not stable. Please write your message, try to be clear. I don't know why you are twisting. Good evening, Penalty and John Leku from Bamumbu. I write to tell you this. Wabane subdivision is made up of 8 villages, with Bamumbu being the headquarters. The Wabane council is in Bafoussam. The divisional officer is based in Chang, but there are pressuring teachers to go and teach in those villages. Me, I will not go as a teacher. Good evening, everyone. It is a good topic, and all the panelists have digested it very well. Daisy, writing from Kumba. Greetings to you all in the studio. The government of Cameroon has the key to end this crisis. Let there be free amnesty, then we will see how it will work out. Those who will still be in the bushes will be considered as criminals, and we will handle them as such. You say you are king, writing from Tombe. We continue with the messages, so many of them coming in. Greetings to everyone in the studio, Prime Hour crew. Civil servants and teachers in red zones are in trouble. They have to go to work to defend their job, but the going is bitter and dangerous. God save them. If something be done to end this madness, I will be grateful. Greetings to Ndiwum out there, and extend greetings to Fah Elvis Tayong. I am Francis, writing from Bamenda. Good evening, Mr. LASHA and your panelists. May Kedia always prepare before coming to the program. His just disturbing. These people. Good evening, Mr. LASHA. Some people are demagogues. We all know who is threatening us not to send our children to school, yet they force fake stories on air. Meanwhile, they too feel the brunt. Only poor parents are suffering because their children are at home. Uncle Masai, writing from Bamenda. Greetings to you all in the studio. Leadership has a subject matter which is the interest of their subjects, and no grammar can replace this subject matter. This is Nyanga Eric, writing from Mooya. Good evening to all. If they can go to the SDO of Kumbatri subdivision, why not for the civilian and the teachers? We don't have any security any longer. Good evening, I am Nesto, writing from Mooya. The Amber didn't refuse that school shouldn't resume, but it should resume according to their own calendar. That's all.
Do they have a school? Do they have a GC board? Do they issue certificates?
Good evening to all in the studio. I am Mr. You said Mr. Ndiwum is contradicting. Let's stop blaming people who are living in the bushes. They don't reason like you, who has gone to school, and me. But they are all our brothers. Tell Yaoundé to resolve the matter as soon as possible for a safety school resumption. J. Boy from Bamenda. Good evening, good program. Can I have Mr. Ndiwum's number? This is Polycarp from Bamenda. You get it after the program. Good evening in the panel. I have been following this program for more than 8 months now. I wish to ask why each time Mr. Kedia is on the panel, he always talk. You stop other people from talking. Mr. Kedia, maybe you answer that after. Good evening, Mr. Kingsley. I am Long John, writing from Yaoundé. Please let the CPDM supporter this message. It's not healthy. Please stop writing this kind of message. Good evening, Mr. LASHA. Your panelists are top-notch today. The program was a good one. You didn't tell us where you're writing from. Good evening to the entire crew. The so-called struggle is now meaningless, and believe me, all those in the northwest and southwest regions are all against this barbarism perpetrated by the terrorist Amber boys who are passing for liberators. They have totally deviated from the real cause of the Anglophone problem. I am Mark Halley, Ebong, writing from Mooya. Hello, propaganda will not solve the problem. Come and negotiate. Cameroon is not coming back. This is Ambazonians will not die. We will fight for 10,000 years. What? You say you are Terence, writing from Bamenda. Good evening to you all in the studio. Please, we should be civil in our discussion. Sandra from Bunaberi. Greetings to all in the studio. I'm Henry from Dikome Balu. Who is Balu? She didn't even sign the message. Okay. This other one, the last message for the day, of course. Greetings to you all there in the studio. Mr. LASHA, I'm enjoying your program. Tell Jarvis he should write me. I will be supporting him with 500 data every month for his good analysis and intelligence. I will send your number to Jarvis. That's it. Jarvis, thank you for coming.
Thank you. Please send that data, because those who have dropped their arms, they have data every day. They are on Facebook morning, afternoon, evening. Those of us who have been patriotic, we don't have anything.
Fah Elvis, thank you for coming.
Thanks very much. While the SGO's communique on the ban for Fako division circulation, it's a good one, but not very effective. Let them just relate with governor relate to Yaoundé. Yaoundé knows what to do, and we'll not be putting up communiques today, tomorrow, and after tomorrow. Thank you.
Yes, Ndiwum, thank you too for coming.
In as much as we keep condemning the voices for causing atrocities, I want to keep reminding every Cameroonian that Anglophone crisis is not 1/3 solved. We are struggling to solve Amber. When Amber will be over, we will settle on the Anglophone crisis, because it is very much alive. It is even increasing more than it was before.
Yes, Sir Kedia Malanfe, thank you too for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here. To conclude, I will say it, us as Anglophone, we should stop killing our own, that the government will come and intervene, this will come and intervene. If I say it and I still repeat again, I have not seen another ethnic group that will get up to kill their own brothers that the government will come and intervene. And if I say that some people interpret it in their own way, I still stand on the fact that we should stop killing, raping our own, hoping that the government will come and interpret. Anybody that wants to digest it in a negative way is their business. But as Anglophone, we should stop our brothers from killing us.
Thank you for coming, Kedia. Thank you to all of you who took our time to watch us this night, and for those of you who sent in your messages, we want to apologize for those that were not able to read. It's not easy. We can't read the messages of everybody. Thank you so much for watching. The program was produced for us by Ewane Nolinga. I have been LASHA Kingsley for the presentation. Wishing you a great week ahead. Until tomorrow, bye-bye from this end.